Alright, in this video we'll see how to create a plugin that will display the team member photo based on the shortcode passed. Let's say you see I have passed the shortcode, and as an argument I am passing the department as this development. That's why this team member shows up. If I make this and change it to design and click on save, you'll see the team member of designer shows up, and these data are stored in the custom table called wp underscore team underscore gallery, and these data are getting fetched and displayed over here based on the shortcode that we have passed. So how are we going to add the team member? So to add the team member, we have a specific menu for that, which is team manager. Now we have a form, and just below the form you have the recently added fields or the team member. Now let me just add the developer again. I'm going to name the developer and choosing the category. Here it's the department, choosing the department which is development, and here we are going to use the media library API. So on click you can see the WordPress media library shows up. So let me select this image and click on use this image. Once you click on add member, you'll see the developer2 has been added on the table. So these data are getting fetched from this custom table. Once you click on the browse, you'll see the developer2 has been added, and now let me change the shortcode. So based on the argument I need developer devlo, and if you click on save, you'll see another developer that got added. It's actually the argument that you need to pass is development. Once you click on save, you'll see the team member of the developer shows up. So without wasting time, let's get started. So before that, the topics that we are going to cover here is custom table. This is the table that we are going to create in this video, and we'll be adding a dashboard menu. On the sidebar you'll see a menu which is team manager. Once you click on it, you'll see the form, and just below the form you'll have the table, which actually is these data are getting fetched and displayed over here. And finally we'll be creating a shortcode called team gallery, and we'll be passing an argument to the key which is department, and based on the argument passed you'll see the team member on the front end. So for the first thing what you need to do is you need to create your folder. In the plugin folder, I'm just going to name it as grid, and it's better that you deactivate your current plugin because it could create a conflict on using the function new. Now we can open our folder, and inside the folder we need to create a new file, and that file name should be equal to your folder name. So here we can make this grid.php file new or text document. It's not working before, so let's just select this grid and open it on the Visual Studio Code. And with the Visual Studio Code, if you click on this plus button, you'll see you can create a file. I'm going to name it as grid.php. So you don't need these text document, just delete these. Now to show your plugin on this folder, on this particular page, you need to add a comment for that. So let me add the comment, and this comment will say that what is the plugin name. You can say monk team gallery, and then you can make the shortcode available over here, and this is the version, and the author is monk. If you click on save, so this is the minimum that you need to show your plugin on this particular page. So monk team gallery, what I do is once I click on activate, I want a function that will create a custom table over here. Let's just do that. So the function is register activation hook, And inside the register activation hook, we need to write a query that will create a table. So to run a query, you need a global object from the WordPress, so that we can have an interaction between the WordPress folder structure and the WordPress table. So for the interaction, we have a special variable from the WordPress which is global, which is wp.db. With the wp.db, we are going to set the name. So we are going to set the name as team underscore gallery underscore 2. So we are calling the prefix. So the prefix is nothing but WordPress comes with a default naming convention which is wp underscore. So with the help of wp.db, we can access that. And again, we need to specify the character set here for sorting the data. What database usually use character set, either it's going to be UTF-8, or either it's going to be UTF-MB4, or it could be a common ASCII, which is nothing but if you have alphabet A, it would assign it would assign a number on the relevant character set that you have chosen. So to get the character set, WordPress has a function. So this is a function that will help you to get the current database character set. Now we can simply create the query, and this query will define the column. So we need the column ID, we need the column name, we need the column department, we need image URL, and we are mentioning that the ID is going to be the primary key. Now to run this custom query, WordPress gives you a special function which is delta-db. Now to access delta-db, we need to first know where the delta-db is. So we'll include that file where the delta-db is defined. Now we can simply run the delta-db. Now once I click on activate our plugin, you'll see a table named wp underscore team underscore gallery underscore 2 will show up. Where is it? Control F, make sure it's activated, refresh. I think I have not saved it, I guess. Yes. So here you'll see, once I click on it, this is the table that you have created. Now what we need to do is we need to create a menu. To create a menu, we have a function called add menu page. We are attaching that function to a hook called admin menu. So this is the page title, this is the title on the page, or you can say h1, and this is the capability for the author, and this is the slug, and this is the function that would called when you click on this menu. So by this you could see your menu. You can see team member. Now what we need to do is, when I click I want to show a form, let's show a form. And this form is very straightforward. We have one input field, we have one drop down, we have one again input field, and we have the submit button. So we need to note the name variable on a name attribute on each input field. So here this is the input field for the member name, this is the input field name for the department that we are going to choose, and this is for the, you can see, this is for the URL that will be displayed as you select the image from the media library. And this is a button. We would be triggering the media library API with this ID of this particular button element, and this function will simply return submit button with text add member. The class would be added, and this is the unique identifier. So that's enough just to view your form over here. We can view our form. So once this is done, what we need to do is, once I click on add member, these data should get fetched and saved into the appropriate variable. And once it's saved in the appropriate variable, we need to insert the input field value. So we'll check whether the button is submitted or not. To check whether the button is submitted or not, we can use the set function, and we can access the name attribute of individual fields. So with the help of post super global PHP variable, we can access to the we have the access of the individual input fields, and I've stored into the relevant variable names. And now we need to check whether these values are not empty. If the values are not empty, we can insert these value. So to make this work, we need to again use the WordPress global object, and first we are checking whether these values are there or not. If the values are there, then only insert these values. And if I make a refresh, so this is enough. We'll just add designer one and select the design, and once I click on select image, the media library API should open up. So for that we just need to write the script tag. We want to run the JavaScript only when all the document elements are loaded. So for that, jQuery gives you a function. Now when your jQuery is completely loaded, we want to trigger a click element on the button. We are targeting with the ID, and let's define a normal variable so that we can have access to the media library with this variable. Now we need to stop the default behavior. Once you click on any button, the page would get refreshed. So to stop that, e.prevent default is the function. Now we are checking if the media library is already defined, then use that. If it's not defined, then create one. So this will check if the media library API is already defined. If it's already defined, then it will just simply open. If not, then the code below this will execute. So we need to call the media library API with the help of wp media. Wp media will make sure your API is called, and we are setting up the pop-up with the title. Select a team member image, and the button should have a text, use this image. And we are saying that we don't need multiple images to get selected, we just need only one image to get selected. So now we need to write an again event listener that will decide which image is selected. And now we are again using the media uploader and using the select event listener. So we'll call the media library API, and this will know the state, and when on selected, the first element will get selected and it will get converted to JSON. So why JSON? In the backend, the media library uses backbone.js, so we need to convert it to the format so that WordPress can understand. So that's why we are converting it to JSON, and now it's stored into the attachment. So these attachment, we need to get the URL of the selected image. So for that, we are using .url, and these values get stored into the input field. So this input field will, once the image is selected, this input field will have the source. So after that, we need to trigger the media library API with the help of media uploader.open. So now if I make this designer one design and select, so I think there's a problem here. If any problem is there, you can simply click on F12 and it will show you an inspect media. There is some problem, security contains are more invalid. So to make the pop-up work, we need to call the relevant CSS and JavaScript. So we'll use the hook called admin enqueue script, and this is the function that will call all your required CSS and JS for the pop-up. So designer one, select, and now you see we have made the title over here with the help of JSON, and you'll see a button somewhere. You can see use this image, and this button got declared, or you can see we have modified this text of the button with the help of this object. And if I click on use this, and if I click on add member, the data would get saved. So the data can be saved on this table. Now we need to use the fetch query to display these values just below your function. So that's very simple. Just before your form is there, you need to fetch all the values from the table and use the for each loop to display. And the query is very simple, you don't have to worry about it. So we are defining a table, and we are using the query select all from the table where ID is, where order by ID in the descending order. So the one which got saved recently will show up in the top, because its ID will be more, let's say 6 in if you upload 5 images, so it will show on the top of the table. So we are accessing it, and we are checking if there is any value, and if there is value we are using the for each loop, and this is the column name, and we are using the image tag with the width at 60 pixel, and we are specifying the border, and that's it. You will see the recently added image. There seems to be a problem. I think it's saying that we have not used the, yeah, we have already used. We can simply call that global variable again here and try to refresh the page. Now it should work. Yes. If I try to add one more designer, here in this case it's designer 2, and select a image and use this. So this is for designer, and let's add one more developer so that we can check whether only the designer shows up. So we have 3, or two of them are from design department, and one is from development department. Now we need to create a shortcode. So when we create a shortcode, we are passing a value or an argument. In WordPress it's called ATTS, attributes. With the help of add shortcode function, you have created a shortcode which is team_gallery. Now with this ATTS you have access to the attribute. First we need to check whether the attribute is empty or not. If it is empty, then define a default value. So we are checking whether the attribute is, if nothing is passed, then we are defining it as nothing. If there is anything, then save the attribute as it is, and we'll store it into a variable. We'll get these value as an associative array. Store it into a variable called department. Now again it's very simple, as we have already done just displaying all the values, just getting all the values from table and displaying it on the front end. So we need to define the table first, database first, with the help of this one, wp.db. Now the same query, select all from table, where department is the argument that we have passed, and we don't need this anyway, it's going to be there. Now we will create a HTML. So for that we are creating our output buffer. So whatever you write inside here will be stored as an temporary memory, and it would be stored at a temporary memory. To display the temporary memory, we have a function which is output buffer get clean. Now in between we will write a HTML. We'll be using the same for each loop. You can see I am getting the member and displaying the URL, displaying the name, and the relevant CSS that we for this HTML we needed. I am going to display it just above the HTML, surrounding it inside style tag. Now if I click save and make a refresh, you'll see one developer, and if I make this design, click on save, you'll see the newly added designer. Now let's add another let's say we are adding a HR department, name of the HR, and select any image. Let's select this image and click on add member. The recently added will show up at the top. Now I want the HR department to show up instead of design and development. Click on save, and you'll see the HR department shows up. So that's all for today. I hope I have made clear everything, the scope of this video, that we had to focus on the library, media library API, and I hope we have done it. And we have seen how to display values by how to display any HTML with a condition that we can pass to a shortcode. Based on the passed shortcode value, we'll have access to the table and add that condition to the table and display the value that we want. So to display any HTML in the front end, there are very limited options. The first and most common option is shortcode. So shortcode will convert your WordPress code, WordPress syntax something, into the working HTML. So this is one way of displaying your converting WordPress code into the working HTML code. The other way is you have to write your own template and use the loop, use the code for the PHP and WordPress and display it. So shortcode is the most convenient way to display the HTML on the front end, accessing the backend code. So that's what we did today.